What's up, BookTube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today I'm doing the Encanto Book Tag. First of all, I got new glasses. What do we think? They're like so different from anything else that I've ever had before, but I like them. They're like kind of funky and weird. But anyways, this tag was created by Passport to Eden, whose video I will of course leave a link down below for you guys to go and check out. And it's a book tag inspired by the Disney movie Encanto, which I am obsessed with. I've had those songs stuck in my head constantly for months now. I am just obsessed with Encanto. It's so freaking good. If you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it, please. It's amazing. But anyways, let's get started with the questions. Question 1 is to name a book that explores multiple family generations, and for this one I'm going with Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lana Popovic. This one is a urban fantasy like witch story that takes place in Montenegro and follows twin sisters and their mother who come from a family of witches, and they all have the power to manipulate beauty. The one sister, she sees flowers as fractals and she turns her like kaleidoscope visions into glasswork. The other sister hears mood as music. The mother can like bake your memories into food and all these beautiful things. Like, it's a really interesting magic system, and their entire family has this ability, and their family becomes a very, very large part of this duology. It was a really interesting duology, wonderfully written. The world is beautiful, the magic system is incredible, but mostly it was the family dynamics that were just so beautifully written, and I just really enjoyed this duology. Question 2 is, what is a book you enjoyed that took longer than expected to finish? For this question I have 2 answers, and that's because I was reading them both at the same time. Those are A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab and The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So like, first of all, the one book is like quite large, so understandable that it took a while. And then The Night Circus is like a pretty slow fantasy where like I wanted to take my time with it. But I was reading both of these books at the same time, which is maybe not the smartest thing that I could have done. I think it took me about a month to read both of these ones. And like, normally my reading speed, I'll read generally a book in like 3 or 4 days usually. So like, this is rare for me, especially with A Conjuring of Light. I read the other 2 books in like one sitting each. I could not put them down, but I love these books so much and I just didn't want them to be over, so I just kept putting them off. I would sit down and read like maybe 10 pages each at a time and then like not touch it again for a few days. So that's definitely why it took so long, because I just love them so much that I just didn't want to be done with them, so I kept procrastinating reading them. Question number 3, name a character who has to do it all. For this one I'm going to go with the main character from Within These Wicked Walls by Lauren Blackwood. This one is a Ethiopian inspired horror fantasy retelling of Jane Eyre. So our main character is what's called a Detera. She goes and cleanses houses of the evil eye, and in this world the evil eye comes in the form of manifestations, and they can come in a lot of different forms. And there is this one house that is her first solo job, and it is a real tricky one. There have been 10 other Deteras who have tried to go in and cleanse this house, and none of them have been able to do it, but she is desperate for the money, so she goes, and she is in way over her head. There are so many manifestations in this house, and like some examples of how they show up. There's just one room in the house where if you get stuck in there after sundown, then the entire room fills up with blood and you just sit there alive and drowning in blood for the entire night and you can't get out of the room. There's a closet where when you walk past it, the cobwebs whisper your greatest fears into your ear. There's just all these really creepy, terrifying things happening. There's like whispering walls and creaky floorboards. It's a fantastically creepy haunted house story, and so the main character has to go and cleanse each individual manifestation one by one. She can't just do all of it at once. It is a very, very slow process, so she really has to do it all, and if she fails then everyone's gonna die basically. So she's under a whole lot of pressure, so she definitely fits for this prompt. Question 4, talk about a book you haven't talked about before. I had to dig back in my Goodreads for my like pre-booktube days to find some books, and I realized that I don't think I've ever talked about Song of the Current and Whisper of the Tide by Sara Tolser. I fucking love this duology. It is so good. It's a like pirate fantasy but with like river spirits, and our main character comes from a family of people who serve the god of the river. They are like river pirates, and she's been waiting for years to finally hear the river god speak to her, but for some reason it's just not happening and she has no idea why. And then one day her father is wrongfully arrested, and so she has to go and try and save him, and so she boards her ship and goes to set off and finds a stowaway who I believe is a prince. I don't remember now, but he is like somebody who's like really like arrogant and pompous and just kind of an asshole, but she really has no choice but to kind of take him along because she's on a time limit here. So off they go together to try and save her father, and they get caught up with politics and pirates and all these really interesting things. I adored this duology. Also, the title here is glittery and I love that. But either way, this duology is such a good time and I would definitely recommend it. But yeah, I've never talked about it on my channel before, even though I was like obsessed with it. I think I gave both books 5 stars and like I love these ones so much. Question number 5, name a book that you thought would be light and fluffy but hit emotionally. For this one, I'm going to go with a recent read, and that is Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This is entirely my fault. I did not actually read the synopsis before going into this book. I just heard like literally everybody talking about how amazing it is, so I picked it up without actually reading into it, and it is not what I thought it was. This was a very, very hard-hitting book. It's a middle grade, maybe a YA, about a young girl named Jam who lives in this town called Lucille that has been cleansed of all of its monsters. So in this world, monsters are all the bad people, all the billionaires, all the racist people, all the like offenders, all these kind of things. They have all been eradicated after the revolution, I think a couple decades before. And so they've been living in this like utopian society since then. But then one day this creature comes out of one of her mother's paintings and it tells her that there is a monster in Lucille and it's here to hunt down that monster. So I thought this book was going to be kind of like pretty fun because I've been told that it was a middle grade, but it actually deals with a really heavy topic, so definitely look into some trigger warnings before going into it. But yeah, I had no idea that was going to be the case here, so definitely unexpected, but still a fantastic read. Question 6, name some characters who make you believe in soulmates. I'm going with another recent read for this one, and that is The Kindred by Alechia Dow. I just read this one a couple of weeks ago and like, wow, it blew me away. This one is a YA sci-fi, and their society has what's called the Kindred Program, where at birth everyone is paired up with somebody from a different class from them. It's always one high class and one low class. That way all of the lower class can always have their voices be heard, and it can stop any revolutions from happening. And so in this one, our main characters are Felix and Joy, and they are kindred. Joy comes from the poorest planet in their solar system. Meanwhile, Felix is a royal, and these two are just the absolute best of friends. They've been paired literally since birth. I think they were 3 minutes old when they were paired, so they've been together for their entire lives and they just love each other so much. And their first time meeting in person is when Felix has to come and rescue Joy from being murdered, and they have to escape onto a stolen spaceship and crash land onto Earth after the entire royal family is killed and Felix is put to blame for it. Their relationship had me like literally in tears, I think on page 4. Like 4 pages in and I was already just so in love with their relationship. And that's before the romance kicks in. Like this is just them being friends and just how caring they are and how loving, and just they just look out for each other so much. And I just, oh my god, I love this book. It's incredible. Please read it. Question 7, name a book that features rebuilding relationships. For this question, I'm going to go with It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake by Claire Christian. Maybe not quite what the question meant, but it's how I'm interpreting it. This is about Noni Blake rebuilding her relationship with herself. At the start of this book, she has just gotten out of a 10-year relationship where she realized that she was so unhappy and that she has not actually cared for herself in a long time. She's always put herself last. And she realizes that she's kind of miserable. She doesn't like her job. She's not happy with her body, with her confidence. Like there's nothing about her life that she's happy with. So she sets off on what she's calling a pleasure quest, where she's going to travel around the world. She cuts her hair. She starts wearing clothes that make her feel beautiful. She wants to do whatever the hell she wants and sleep with whoever the hell she wants, and just finally do things that are just for her, that make her feel good, and just learn how to love herself again. I love this book so much. It was on my top 10 books of last year, and like I never thought that I would see a romance on there because I'm mainly a fantasy reader. So having a romance on there was weird for me, but like this book was just so incredible and I really relate to Noni as a character. And so yeah, she totally fits in with this prompt because this whole book is just her learning how to love herself again. And finally, question number 8, name a book that left you immersed in the culture. I'm going to go with Falling into Rarohenga by Steph Matuku. This one is also a like semi-recent read. I think I read it in January, I want to say. This one is a middle grade fantasy about these 2 kids who come home from school one day and they find that their mother is missing, and they realize that she has been sucked into the Maori underworld and they have to go after her to save her. So it's a like traveling adventure trope. These 2 kids are going through the Maori underworld, but they get into all kinds of trouble and they meet all these like spirits and creatures. And this book especially left me so immersed in the culture because they are constantly like referencing different myths and legends, and they're seeing like all these creatures from their lore and stuff. I got lost in so many like Google rabbit holes while while reading this book, and I had a great time reading it. I love mythology in general, but especially Maori mythology is my favorite. So reading this book and also getting to go and like do all this research and look into all the things that they were talking about was just such a good time for me, and I had a great reading experience with this one. So those are all the questions for the Encanto book tag. Let me know if you've also done this tag. I would love to go and watch your video, but if you have not done it yet, then consider yourself tagged. But that'll do it for today, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!